Hey guys, Todd here, and I'm in the market for a new dash cam. I came across this one from Nexigo, the D90, 4K, big IPS touchscreen, swipe gestures, and it comes with an included SD card. So we're going to check it out and see how good it is. First, I need to show you this. I'm not going to do a full unboxing, but the box that it comes in has one of those magnetic fold closures. Love that stuff. Comes with plenty of foam padding in there. Nothing's going to get broken. This is a unit itself. All right, you can see on the back there, this is our front-facing camera, adjustable, also manually adjustable here, and you can fine-tune adjust it. You're going to see that in a second. Also included in the box, aside from your power cable, your rear camera, your GPS antenna, you're going to get these fasteners to mount it onto your rear view mirror. Two large, two small ones, depending on how thick your rear view mirror is. You're going to get this pry tool that you can use to hide the cables up underneath the interior of your car, and a little swipey buffer cloth. Let's flip it down now and see how this thing works. Okay, let's take a look at the head unit here. I have it hooked up to an external power source so we can look at the interface. First thing I want to mention is this sliding panel in the back here. This is where the front-facing camera is located, and you can adjust this depending on the width of your rear view mirror. So, turn the screen on. There is a manual button down here at the bottom. You can press it, the screen comes on. Press it again, the screen goes off. You can also turn the screen on just by touching it. Now, the first thing you see is this flashing red dot in the upper left. That means we are recording in regular mode. On the right here, you can see our date and time signature. Now, if I had this hooked up to the GPS antenna, we would also see our direction and speed here. If I touch the screen, our navigation comes up. Before I do that, though, let me show you the swipes. If you swipe up and down on the left side of the screen, it will fine-tune adjust your camera. And you can do this for both the front and the rear cameras. If I swipe up and down on the right side of the screen, it'll adjust my brightness. If I swipe left and right, it will switch between front camera, rear camera, and split view. Now, the navigation here. This first button here looks like a square. That's actually a stop, because that will stop our recording. Press it again, and our recording started again. The second one looks like a camera. It will take a snapshot. That'll be stored in the photos folder that we're going to look at in a second. This third one here looks like a hazard sign. Is going to start an emergency recording. You can see our red dot turn to yellow, and there's a yellow line working its way across here. That's letting us know how long our emergency recording is, and when it gets to the end, it is going to save this video into a separate folder, into a locked folder that will not be overwritten. It's a really cool feature to have. You can also initiate an emergency recording just by double tapping the screen. That's a snapshot, and it's recording. You can see the yellow line working its way across again. So two ways to start an emergency recording. So a pretty cool feature to have there. I also take note of this really big IPS touchscreen. All right, our fourth button here is our playback options. It shows us our 6 folders, 3 for the front camera, 3 for the rear camera, divided into standard, locked, and snapshots or photos for each camera. Okay, our settings menu. I'm not going to go through all of these, but some of them are kind of important and of note. This is where you decide your resolution, 4K, 2K, 1080p. I believe this is just for the front camera. I believe the rear camera only records in 1080p. Loop recording. Since we're recording all the time, here we can decide whether those loops are in 1 minute, 3 minute, or 5 minute chunks. Video encoding, this is where you can just change between H.264 and H.265, depending on the technology that you're working with. This turns our audio recording on or off. G-sensor sensitivity. So this has a G-sensor in it that if it senses a shock, like if you get hit by somebody, it will automatically save that video. Whatever's currently recording, it'll automatically save it to the locked folder so it won't get overwritten. And here you can choose the sensitivity. Depending on if you live in an area where there's a lot of bumps, you might want to make the sensitivity lower. Time-lapse recording. Now this is only available if you hardwire the power to this thing directly to the car's battery, usually through the fuse box. But this will need battery power because the time-lapse recording will take a snapshot at a predetermined interval over a 12-hour, 24-hour, or 48-hour period. So if you leave your car parked for a long time and you want to sort of keep an eye on it, this will take constant snapshots. Frequency, depending on where you live, your electronics either operate at 60 or 50 hertz. Sleep mode. Now this will turn the screen off at a predetermined time interval, either 1 minute or 3 minutes. And that is going to come in handy in a second when we look at our screensaver. You turn the screensaver on, then when the screen goes to sleep, it will put the GPS data, the direction and the speed, and our time and date signature. It'll put those up in an overlay over your rear view mirror, your regular rear view mirror view, which is a pretty cool option. Touch tone, this turns every time you see me touch the screen, you hear a tone. That's where you turn that on or off. This adjusts the volume. This is your manual screen brightness adjustment. Rear camera display. So this, depending on how you mount your rear camera, this will adjust the display so that you're always looking at it right side up. Time settings, that's where you put in the time. Time format, this really should be date format because this is where you adjust how you want the date to be displayed. Fatigue reminder, this is kind of a cool option. If you turn this on, then every 2 hours while you're driving, this will alert you to pull over, stretch, get a cup of coffee so that you don't fall asleep at the wheel. Language, it's where you choose your language. It's where you format the SD card. This will reset all of the presets on the device back to the factory. And about our company, here's our model number, our software version, website, email, telephone, and a US address where you can contact the company. I think that's super cool. You don't see that all the time. Our last button here is our microphone button. That just turns our audio recording on and off. And the preview button here just shows a preview of what the camera's looking at so that you can make sure that it's getting what you want, but you can't actually use any of those functions while you're in preview mode. Okay, we're out, and that's the pretty much a little walkthrough. And we're back. So let's talk about the cameras. How good is the footage from these things? I'm going to show you some footage here. The front camera, I'm super impressed with. It performed really well during the day and at night. Daytime, you could read license plates off of this thing. Nighttime footage was equally impressive. Gone are those days of every single light blowing the image out completely. The software has come a long way, and I think the 4K resolution helps that too. The rear camera performed really well during the day. At night, it was a little more of a challenge. I had to play around with where I mounted it, because when I mounted it at first really close to my rear window, every single light was blowing everything out. I ended up moving it as far as I could away from the rear window, still on that rear shelf, but far from the window, and that helped with the glare and the blowing out tremendously. So that's my recommendation. I think you get really good footage, but mount it far from that glass. Okay, pros and cons. My first pro is love the large screen, 4K resolution, IPS, touchscreen with swipe gestures. Can't get enough of that stuff. The front camera is fabulous. It is excellent performance in day and night. The rear camera too, you can get it to perform well at night. You just have to position it right. The fatigue reminder, a great option to have. The screensaver, I love that. So when you're using this as a regular rear view mirror, because when you turn the screen off, it just becomes like your regular rear view mirror. And when that screen sleeps and that screensaver goes on there with the GPS info and the time and date signature, I love that stuff. Okay, my cons. What do I not like about this unit? There isn't much. The first thing I'll mention is the rear view mode. When you turn the screen off in this and you're just using it as a rear view mirror, it's a bit dimmer than your car's built-in rear view mirror. You can still see everything back there, no problem. It just might not be bright enough for you to maybe check your makeup or, I don't know, pick your nose, but you shouldn't be doing that while you're driving anyway. It's still totally usable. Just want to mention that. My second con, the screensaver will not activate if you press the button on the underside to turn the screen off manually. The screensaver won't come on. It'll only come on if you've enabled sleep mode, and then you have to wait either 1 minute or 3 minutes, depending on which option you've chosen, for the screen to time out and go to sleep. Then the screensaver comes on. I don't like that. I want the screensaver to come on even if I press that button on the bottom. I think that would be a simple firmware update. They could probably do that really easy. My last con is that, and it's a small one, the way the camera's mounted on this thing, the front-facing camera, it blocks my visor from going fully forward, the driver's side visor. It still goes forward almost all the way, surely enough to block the sun and still see the road. But that last little bit, it won't let it go forward. And I haven't tested it enough to know if that's going to get in the way or how much. But I wonder if they could mount the camera on the other side of the unit so that if anything, it blocks the passenger's visor from going fully forward, but lets the driver, their visor, go fully forward. I wonder how hard that would be. I don't know, but that's my last con. I love this unit, and it's going to become my daily driver. I'm going to mount this permanently in my car, and I'm going to use this every single day. I do have one item for a wish list. I want a third camera. I want a passenger cabin camera, maybe embedded in that IPS screen with a little punch out like we have on our phones. I want to see the passenger cabin. Not only would that make it a no-brainer for your rideshare drivers, your Ubers and your Lyfts who need a passenger cabin camera for liability reasons, but it never fails. Once a month I walk out to my car and there's a new mark on it, on the door, on the fender, that I don't know how it got there. Did someone run their shopping cart into it? Did somebody scuff me as they were pulling into the parking space next to me? I have no idea, and I just want to know. Also, if you're using the time-lapse feature, someone breaks into your car, I'd like to have the option to capture footage of that so that maybe we can catch the guy. Anyway, that's my wish list. I love this thing. I hope this review helped you guys. Leave me a comment down below. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. I want to hear both because I need to get better, and I will see you guys soon. Until then, stay human.